Hi, I'm Gwiasda, behavioral scientist here in the Ipsos Behavioral Science Center. And what I and my colleagues do is we help brands and companies understand the intuitive, often non-conscious ways in which people are motivated and make decisions. And it often helps brands reconcile what seems like irrational or counterintuitive behaviors. And like much of America, we are fascinated and gripped by what's happening with GameStop right now. And likewise, feel like a lot of these behaviors don't quite make sense. But realize when we overlay a behavioral science approach to this, we can often reconcile some of these seemingly counterintuitive behaviors. One theory that we believe is highly relevant is the concept of identity. We all have a number of identities. I'm a dad, I'm a behavioral scientist, I have a political affiliation, and research shows that we have something called an in-group bias, in that we favor our in-group. We allocate more resources. We follow the rules of our in-group, and this is often to the detriment of the out-group. And I think one thing that's interesting is, the GameStop phenomenon arose from this Reddit thread, Wall Street bets. And I think it's important to realize that a lot of people who follow this thread or subreddit don't really consider themselves to be followers, but rather group members. And so they want to abide by the group norms and are inclined to, want to take actions that favor that in-group, say, versus the out-group of, the hedge funds. Now, this begs the question: what has drawn this affinity to this in-group, to this Reddit thread? We think another theory, something called procedural justice, helps us understand that. Procedural justice is this concept that people view the legitimacy of a decision, of an outcome, not just based on the outcome itself, whether they win or lose, if you will, but by the process that created it. If we believe the process was fair, that we were heard, that it was reasonable and things like that, then we're more likely to accept the outcome as legitimate and abide by the rules, even if we don't get the outcome we want. There's a lot of evidence right now in the US that I think that people are questioning the legitimacy of our financial institutions, of our processes. A recent Ipsos study showed that 60% of people view Wall Street leaders unfavorably, and around 57% said Wall Street has some sort of meaningful impact on their lives. And so it's hardly, I think, a stretch to say that if there's a large group of people that you think, or not you, but one views unfavorably and also has an impact on your lives, that the process may be broken, may not be fair. And so I think, when that happens, what people are then willing to break the rules, the conventions, the norms, to disrupt the system. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing, is we're seeing sort of a glee and a happiness in terms of not just maybe the financial benefits of this, but the sense of realizing that this is the way it should be. And while this is fascinating for what's happening right now, and I think definitely is resonant to the financial industry, I think it really should be taken into account for all brands. Consumers are being empowered with more and more tools, this democratization of information, of power, that they want to see things that are fair. They want just processes. And those brands that don't communicate their processes, aren't transparent, really risk, I think, alienating themselves. And they may not become the next GameStop in the exact same way, but they very well might become a target of a GameStop-esque, mini revolution, if you will. And those brands that fail to take this to an account, I think, are really putting themselves at risk. And so not only is it important to understand what's happening now, in and of itself, I think it's important to realize that this has tapped into a zeitgeist that really affects things well beyond the financial industry.